Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first of several episodes of MGSR Legacy, where we're going to be going over and watching some classic speedruns that were essential to the growth of the game and their respective categories. Plan to do a couple of these in the future, and we're going to start off with what I consider to be one of the more important runs to Metal Gear Solid 3, and that is KikujiroChan, or Take-chan, his single-segment Foxhound run from 2008. So this was before HD collections, it was on PS2, and this was from a time where single-segment was not very common. Not a lot of people did single-segment. It was considered very hard back then, but some people had to do it. And while he wasn't the first one, he made quite a good showing with this run. And I'm not doing this alone. I'm joined by Apache. He's going to be helping with commentary on this run.
Hi everyone. I'm pretty excited to be here. It's been some time since I've watched this run. I watched this run on mini stream before I ever even played Metal Gear Solid 3, so I actually picked up this game after I saw this run. I've forgotten most of it, and at the time I certainly wouldn't have understood the nuance of it. But obviously I've played a bit of Metal Gear Solid 3 since then. So yeah, it's going to be
Played a little bit,
really
yeah.
good.
So yeah, you're going to see some very interesting strategies, some stuff that you won't see in modder runs, and some stuff that is just pretty cool, I guess.
It'll be good. Afterwards, obviously, Major Zero is going to do for us a run of the modern era. Major Zero recently got the world record in Metal Gear Solid 3, which with a 16:35, absolutely ridiculous time. And we'll be talking about some of the modern strats and how we made those improvements.
Yeah.
I'll put us over onto the other scene now as well.
So, I think we are ready to start the show. What do you think?
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, no countdown because this is just an old run, just watching an old video. So, whenever you're ready to hit play, Apache, we'll get this going.
Yeah, we're across. Yeah. I won't put the timer on since we shouldn't need it.
We already know the clear time.
Yeah. So I'll just hit play on this.
Yeah.
This run is from 2008.
Yes, 2008. So a couple things about this. This is New Game Plus. It's a New Game Plus run that Kiku is doing here. So you'll see some strategies that are common in New Game Plus runs and some of his own personal flares to it.
After the end of
some facts about our runner here, KikujiroChan. He was rather late to getting into MGS3 speedrunning. He was actually primarily an MGS2 runner. He did one of the earliest no-save runs for MGS2 on PS2, on the PAL version because he is German. And something else about the clear time, in case you don't know or don't have much experience with the PS2 version, his clear time is a 129 IGT, and sub 130 on PS2 is really hard. Like, this is hard. So the fact that he got it all the way back in 2008 just shows how crazy he was at this game. He was really good at MGS3. So we're just going through normal stuff here. Intro, grabbing the bag. You'll notice pretty early on that he's doing a lot of the movement you'll see in some of these areas where there aren't guards is pretty standard stuff that people nowadays still do. Another interesting thing about MGS3 is a lot of the major strategies that are used in the run were pretty much discovered right around the game's release. So the route for European Extreme kind of stayed the same for quite a long time. there's been minor improvements along the way, of course. Nothing's like perfect by that time, but the basic route and the strategies you do were pretty much all figured out very early on. So some things will look familiar, and some things will look very different.
And so far, this has been absolutely standard. We still copy these movements to this day.
Yes. These are all very standard.
You even knew about the
right
left side load zone for Junichi North. Like, we're only just getting to grips with these like load zones now, but the load zone is favored on the left side. Something like even really good runners don't do now, and he was doing it in 2008.
Here's something interesting you'll notice. He is not going to do a quick headshot on this first guard. You will see what he does to get rid of them. He just does it.
He's got
That's much harder than the quick headshot, so...
Yeah, he's got like immaculate aim.
His aim is pretty good in this run, yeah. So, again, besides that shot, this is all standard stuff. Delino Vodno, however, you will see a pretty big difference between what is done now and what was done back then. And that is, hey, he's shooting the beehive down.
This is like your... The way we do this room is quite difficult. I mean, even Molotov called it one of the hardest runs during his GDQ run. But something you notice is he goes right up to the point of where the guards will see you, and as soon as they turn, he's already moving. So it's like as fast as you... If you're going to do the beehive strat, that's what you want to try and emulate.
Yeah. So, again, just to kind of clarify, back in the day, that was considered really hard. That bridge strategy, it was known and done in segmented runs, but that was considered way too hard for single segment at the time. So he opted to go for the beehive strat, which is very safe, but he also wanted to play it very close, and yeah, like Apache said, if he took a couple more steps forward, he would have been caught. So, and already another difference in Rosfet, not another quick headshot. It was known at the time, but he's just not doing it. I like this right here coming up. This is pretty cool. So he gets spotted by that guy from a distance and then shoots him as he's walking down the steps.
We nowadays we won't rely on a situation where we'll have to aim and get headshots like that. We rely on setups to do headshots. So like he's just a much braver player. Which is mad to say he was this brave 12 years ago.
Yes. He does there's some parts where he does things that are incredibly risky and insane, and then also doesn't do, like, stuff that's considered standard now, like the bridge strat. So, there's some mentality differences from back then, but it is very interesting to see. So, coming up, he's just walking out of Rosfet as normal. And, the next thing that you'll notice a big difference on is we have nowadays figured out the optimal way to do the cure menu that's coming up here. You go and get rid of all the cuts. When you get to the first broken bone, you tap right to go to the final cut. You can clear it all and then get all the broken bones. That saves about a second over doing them all in the order the game wants you to. I think Kiku must not have really liked doing this menu, because the way he does it is quite interesting. It's not fast.
But I think the invention of like really minor optimizations in every single menu we can, like that came with like running live split and recording all day and doing attempt after attempt. I doubt when he recorded this he could record like we do now, where we just do like play for 12 hours and record every single minute of it.
Yeah. So yeah, his strat for that was to hold R2, mash down, and confirm. I mean, it works.
There's something as well, you can get away with that on the PS2. The HD collection won't let you menu like that.
Yeah, you can't mash like that. It's very strange. The menuing on HD collection is quite difficult. You have to make sure to time your inputs properly, otherwise you'll just like press down and then nothing will happen, which can be quite irritating. So again, starting up Operation Snake Eater here. You're going to see something very interesting in this upcoming room. A lot of people will watch modern runs and be like, hey, he just pulled the grenade, and how come the soldier didn't hear his footsteps? He just walked right behind him. He didn't do anything. He didn't react. Well, back then, that was not known. This was not known in 2008. It's not a strategy that anyone knew of. So what you're going to see here is what runners used to do back then to deal with this room. So this is some new stuff. You'll be, if you've seen this run quite often, you will be very surprised to see how he tackles this room. It's very similar, but there's just no grenade pull. And I don't know if I explained it properly, but on certain surfaces, if you just hold a grenade in your hand, it will silence Snake's footsteps. Not all surfaces, but just some.
Just the ones we need it.
Just the ones we need it on, yeah. To see him go around, do another roll there, and then you see him run up in this guard and just slam him.
Yeah, I think something like even modern runners forget is like how good CQC is. It's really, really powerful tool.
Yeah,
and I see
really
a lot of people when they make a mistake on a strat where they could immediately see CQC a guard, but it just doesn't enter in your head to do it.
Yeah, sometimes when you get in those situations, you panic and do the wrong thing, when a lot of the times the backup would be just to slam him.
That was really strange. He rolled so the guard didn't hear his footstep. We know now that like you can hug the left wall, and it's a really precise line.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's where the video skips.
Yeah.
That's what this video is in sequences, so it will pause every 9 minutes to skip on to the next one. Yeah. So when if you roll during the time a guard would hear your footsteps, it doesn't make any sound. So he actually took like what would be considered a bad line, but then rolled to compensate. And then he also did the bridge roll strat. The bridge roll strat is like inconsistent, where you roll over the bridge fence panel. It's like really inconsistent.
Yeah.
So he was like, in order to make that whole strat work, he had to do that.
Yeah. He didn't have enough time to do the safer strat of standing behind the tree and then going around the bridge, because of the first roll he did.
Yeah.
He picks up the cardboard box here. That's going to be used a couple times throughout the run.
So it's a good tool.
It is. And now we're going to see the Ocelot unit. So the standard strategy for the Ocelot unit was basically confirmed and done in most runs at around 2011, I think, was when it became like proper. But here's like kind of a abridged version, the 2008 variation of Ocelot unit. There's some similarities, but also some differences. So he does the standard menuing. He's going to shoot that guard. Just a headshot. Very interesting. Not what modern strats do.
Yeah, this is already completely different.
Throwing 2 stun grenades over there, standing in a precise spot so that the sniper doesn't see him. Pop him in the head. He's going to break that window to alert him, and then he's going to crouch down, shoot him in the head. That guy was alarmed.
It needs to be said that not a single player currently can aim as well with Snake as this guy. He is exceptional.
Yeah. He has very good aim. And there you go. That was the 2008 Ocelot unit.
That isn't much slower than
no, it's really not.
The strat we're using in 2020. That isn't much slower. And that spot to get the roof guard, if he wasn't crouched in that exact place, the roof guard would see him, because the roof guard has like eagle vision. The roof guard sees everything.
Yeah, he has very good vision from up there. So here he's going to equip the Patriot. He's going to be using that for some upcoming boss fights. Now he's just going through the swamp. Some standard stuff here.
Yeah, we know now that using the cigar to take out the leech is actually better. But on the PlayStation 2, does it drain your stamina like way faster or something like that? So the bug juice is probably like a hangover from the PlayStation 2 era.
Yeah, well, the main reason that they equipped it was because I believe it did. Yeah, I believe you're right. I believe it did drain your stamina faster on PS2. I could be wrong though, but the main reason was just that it's less menuing. They especially with PS2 loads, the menuing takes a lot longer to go to the cure menu.
Yep.
And just get it off with a cigar than it is to just equip it and exit out.
I just know that he isn't going to use a modern Bolshoi. I'm ready for this.
Yeah, this is interesting. So this area has a strat that modern runners do, where when you get to the first electric fence, you shoot the wall, and that distracts a guard way on the other side to go around, and basically he won't be in your way when you get there. But you'll notice that he does not do that shot. He just goes straight to the tree. He avoids that shot entirely. So he's going to fall down. Also, he's not going to use the box for this hill, which is what most players now do. One thing that we'll have to point out is that the use of the box heavily in the speedrun for MGS3 wasn't really like solidified at this point. The runner who kind of like popularized it and made it more common was a user by the name of Metallica Snake. He was the one who used the box a whole lot in his runs.
That's it. That whole room was terrifying. I constantly that feeling you get where you're about to get an alert, and you get it when you run this game. You get like as soon as something's a bit off, you're waiting to be caught by a guard. Because I don't know if
you feel that right there.
This whole run is game over if discovered. So if any guard sees you, you get a continue screen. So a lot of what he is doing is to avoid that.
Yeah. So again, going through here, different strategy than normal. Normally you shoot this guy with a lethal gun, but he's actually going to knock him out.
I do that in my run, and I also take the suppressor off on the gun and unequip it, because we know you can quick equip guns at the start of this fight now, as long as you go in with nothing equipped. So he was doing in 2008 what I do now.
Ocelot's very different. Normally you will see this fight either done non-lethally if it's New Game, or lethally in New Game Plus, but he is just going to stand here and just shoot Ocelot.
It's crazy how much health he's losing too. This is like... he was one hit from death there, and he just stood there and took every shot. Something you see runners do when they're going to fight Ocelot in a more... Because obviously we have a loop on European Extreme now. The Ocelot doesn't really get a chance to shoot you, but you can dodge his bullets in first-person view by leaning. Oh my god, using the Patriot to light up the area. So good. So good.
So yeah, if you're not super familiar with it, you might be like, hey, you just depleted his life bar. Doesn't that make him lose, Foxhound requirements? Well, if you know the lore of MGS3, Ocelot does not die there, so it does not count as a kill.
Oh, but I just realized he doesn't get animals camo now as well.
Yeah, New Game Plus.
New Game Plus. Ignore me. Ignore me. I just watched him kill him with a Patriot, and I still don't realize this. Yeah, Ocelot and Volgin 1, we can kill lethal, and they don't count towards the kill count.
So we're coming up on the Pain. In modern settings, especially on HD collection, the Pain is kind of, whatever. He can be annoying, but he's not super difficult. On PS2, however, the Pain was a run killer. He was really hard. And that is because on the second phase on HD collection, if you stay in first person view, the bullet bees just can't hit you. I don't know why.
It's to do with the frame rate. So Appel tested it. He put the emulator in 60 frames per second on the PlayStation 2 version. The bullet bees don't hit you either. It's literally just because of the frame rate.
Interesting. Well, this is PS2, so we don't have that luxury.
Yeah, and it makes this fight a million times longer and
this
harder.
Fight is way harder. So he starts off. I think this was an accident. He starts off just shooting the Pain with the Patriot. I'm not exactly sure why he did this.
It's to interrupt him throwing the swarm the thing
is it?
sticks
Oh,
onto you.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
do it with the Mark 22, but you have like 9
Oh,
frames
right.
or
Yeah,
whatever to
it's
interrupt
really
him.
precise. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep. So that was really clever. I see people do that now, even on HD, and it's a slower way of handling him, but it's a clever use of all your items.
Yeah. So going for headshots. So once he gets into phase 2, this is why, like, phase 2 is why this fight is so hard. Because he's going to have to go into the water to dodge these bullet bees. And then he's going to have to finish the fight from inside the water.
Those bullet bees would kill him, obviously, with his health, but they would pretty much instantly kill you on any health. It's only full health they don't kill you from.
Yeah. And that grenade
That
throw
was
is
so
really
good.
hard.
Yeah, I was going to say
Insanely
the
hard
grenade throw. And then also doing the one phase after the grenade, because all your shots have to be perfect. And he didn't quick
Yeah.
reload in phase 1, but he did in phase 2, and it's
Yeah.
really where it's important is phase 2.
It's insane. That fight is crazy.
And that's like so fast for PlayStation 2. So
yes,
fast.
That phase 2 is insane. Like, if you were doing a run on PS2 and you got that phase 2, I'd be popping off.
One thing that I have seen for where PlayStation 2 can go is occasionally, very rarely, in phase 2 he won't do the bullet bees at the start, so you could literally just stand and do it like HD Collection.
Yeah.
But you'd have to
Get
grind to the pain many times just to start a run.
That honestly seems like something you'd go for in a segmented run.
It's 100% something I would go for. See you on the PlayStation 2 soon.
So yeah, we're just coming up on this little river, and then we'll be at the warehouse. And the warehouse is where things have already been interesting up to this point, but warehouse especially is where things get, they get really cool. There's some really cool stuff in this part.
If you hold X and forward, Snake goes into water on the first frame. I'm so glad that he was doing this in 2008, because so many people don't do that now.
Yeah. Yeah, you hold X and hold forward right when you enter that area, and
that's been my favorite part so far, to be honest with you. I'm so glad he did it.
And he's also taking a very risky line. It still works. I don't know why he did it, though. Normally, when you go on the right side, no one even says, who was that? But he went on the left and then swerved right. And one of the guys in the hovercraft noticed him. So, got a little lucky there.
This area works a bit funky on Euro because you can't get a caution. It won't let you have a caution, but it will on other difficulties.
Yeah.
So you get a weird glitch where the radio goes off, but you don't get a caution.
So again, here we'll be seeing a very standard section. Will be tranking that guy.
I did that ESA, shooting the barrels with the Patriot.
Yeah. Which is fun, but there is a chance, especially if you forget to let go after the first shot, you might try and full auto from the left to the right, and then you might kill someone.
Yeah, the other thing that can happen is if you hit a guard with a Patriot bullet and then you blow up the barrel, the guard gets iframes from hitting them, so they won't die, and then you have real problems.
Can survive it, yeah.
If they call backup into that area, it gets really, really awkward. You lose a lot of time.
Yeah.
Oh, where's he going?
Yeah, so this was a kind of it's a backup now for Warehouse, but this is a very safe variation. Warehouse was considered really hard back in the day, and this is a safer version of the Warehouse strategy.
Yeah, the knocking on the wall on the second floor just does exactly the same thing as knocking the guard down does in the normal strat. Just makes the guard face in the exact direction you want him to be. I've seen Jag do that as a backup, so it's still in the modern game, that strat, to some extent.
Yeah. What was considered the standard strategy has now become a very convenient and safe backup, so...
This really is a game where, especially when you're learning, you need to know what to do if your main strat doesn't go right, because if you get a continue, you'll lose in 20 seconds. If you can fix your strat and know the backups, you'll lose 4, 5. It makes a big difference to keeping your run.
He actually has a very interesting to kind of flash forward a bit, he has a very interesting strategy for dealing with the end. We'll explain more as we get closer, but the way he does it is it's quite interesting how he manages to defeat him. He does the stand. He actually does. Just so you know, the end loop was known at this time. It was a known thing. However, it wasn't like completely understood yet. There were still some things that people weren't sure about, and we'll explain those as we get closer.
That's the closest to the door I've ever seen anyone go. He's like one step from an alert there, but that means he doesn't have to put the box on and off. He can just go straight to the door. If the guards see you in the scientist costume for long enough, they will take you to the prison cell, which is like quite far away. That your run would be considered dead if that happens. It's enough of a time loss.
Yeah. So we're gonna mention something real quick. You're not gonna see it in this run because this was a segmented strategy, but using the SIG spray in the lab, particularly the basement right here, that was actually first done by a runner named Apio. He was the first one to do a segmented run with SIG spray strategies in here. So, giving a name to the strat. Again, you don't see it very often in single segment because more of a segmented thing. It's very difficult, but yeah.
He just bumps through the guard there because otherwise he bumps through the scientist because the scientist will catch you otherwise, resetting the AI.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and another thing, his cutscene skips are really good. He is mashing X or start to... he is mashing that button.
At the speed of light.
Yeah. So here's something interesting. This return is very cool.
I'm surprised they did the whole box on the left side strat. Like, I wouldn't have thought that people were doing this in 2008.
And a lot of things you wouldn't think were done back in the day. This was probably around the time when they were found, which is pretty cool to think about. Pretty cool. So coming up is the fear, and we're actually going to explain a couple things before we get into the fear, because there's a lot to go over, so I guess I'll start now. So you won't be seeing it, but everyone knows a new game runs for European Extreme. The common strategy is to use the log and stunning him to deal non-lethal damage and take him out. That's not going to be in this run because it's New Game Plus. However, we are going to we have a name for the guy who invented that strategy. There's a runner named Naoki. He was the very first person to ever do the fear log kill in a speedrun. And
he swaps to the Sorrow's camo here, which gives him
he puts on Ghost. That's going to come in handy later. And then one more thing. Stunning the fear to do non-lethal damage was a trick discovered by a runner named, I think his name is, it's hard to pronounce, Tavix. He was the one who first did the stamina kill trick, which is what you'll be seeing
praise
here.
Be that guy.
Yes, praise be to Tavix. He made this fight a lot easier. Alright, so the fear. This is going to be a little interesting. You might... So he's going to right away equip some stuff, do some menuing, take the poison out, and the arrow.
Oh yeah, I know what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
This is actually a boss duel strat. This is used if you're gonna defeat him in boss duel, you have to do this basically.
Because you do not have a fake death pill in the boss trials. And there you go. That was the fear.
Excellent way of doing the fear.
Yeah. So now you guys have to get ready for what might possibly be the coolest Warehouse 2 strategy you'll ever see. And I know it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but It's
I
really
can
cool.
believe it.
It's
This
really
is-
cool.
Genuinely one of the hardest rooms in the game.
Yeah.
Categorically one of the hardest rooms in the game.
So I will just let it speak for itself.
Even
So cool.
even Molotov's like GDQ strat was slower than that, and that was 2013.
Yeah.
So I imagine that was considered extremely like difficult to perform, especially because I noticed he looked in first person to make sure the guard was in the right place before he moved.
Yeah.
We don't do stuff like that. Like modern runners, outside of I'd say Picari, Major Zero, Raichu to some extent as well. We kind of just copy the other runners, and like our knowledge of like guard patterns comes from attempting the same strategy just over and over again. You
Yeah.
can tell this runner has like a real like knowledge of where he needs the guard to be before he moves on to the next step. It's
So the reason he did that was obviously to recover his stamina, but also he needs the ghost camo in order to make sure that the end does not hear his footsteps when he sneaks up on him.
He just did the footstep cancel accidentally.
Yeah. He didn't realize.
Your
Yes.
footsteps there aren't heard anyway on that
Yeah.
ground.
He was just readying that grenade because he was going to throw it there anyway for the strategy. It's actually very silly because you're like, if you know now, if he wasn't wearing Ghost, that guard wouldn't have hurt him, but that wasn't known back then.
Yeah.
So, because you can see right there, he didn't pull it when he walked by that guard. It's very interesting stuff.
Just in case it's not obvious, the spirit camo that he's wearing silences your footsteps as well as gives you stamina back when you choke a guard.
Mm-hmm. And the main reason he stole all that stamina is because he doesn't want his hands to get shaky. Obviously, back then they knew about animals camo, not having your aim shake up. But
many of these strats that he's done wouldn't have worked in animals camo.
Yes.
So they weren't thinking along those lines yet.
So again, he's going to do the end loop, but it was not fully understood. So initially, they thought that you had to use the cigar spray and then quick reload and then do it again to get 2 hits in, right? That is true if you're standing up on PS2. If you're crouching, the thing that applies in HD Collection where you just use it and it hits him twice works here. That wasn't known at the time, so he's going to be standing up and unequipping it. Yeah.
I had no idea.
You can do it standing up or kneeling on HD Collection, but on PS2, if you wanted to hit twice, you have to be kneeling. This wasn't known then, so he's just going to be doing cigar spray, and he's going to quick reload. And then also, you're going to see something that will absolutely blow your mind as a backup. So we'll just let his end fight speak for itself.
Free. Huh? How did you?
Oh my god, that's so clever. That's unbelievably clever.
Yeah, it's so cool.
He threw a grenade so the end would dive back towards him because the end will move from explosives like that. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's so cool. So yeah, if you're doing the normal loop and you maybe mess up right there at the end, because you can he could have actually beaten him without having to do that grenade throw, but again, not really known at the time. So he did the hits that he needed to, and then knew the end was going to run the opposite way, threw the grenade to have him dive back and finish it up.
So clever. It's like so resourceful as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like nowadays, a strat was found must have been about 4 weeks ago now by a Japanese runner called Go Time, and he found a way to teleport the end into the room that you start in, and he made even the loop strat faster by about 25 seconds.
Yeah.
Major went on to make that loop a lot faster. So we'll see that in Major's run after this. After this run finishes, Major's going to do a modern run, and we'll see all the modern strategies, and that will be on the HD collection as well. So obviously stick around for that. But I mean that what KikujiroChan did was so different to a normal loop.
Yeah,
it's so different.
It's crazy. So yeah, at this point, some of the major there's more interesting strategy differences to come, but some of the big things that happened up to this point, we got to see a lot of the old strategies that were done, stuff that now is considered slow or is considered like a backup, was the main strategy then. So
I think something that a lot of people who pick this game up, this game is hard. It's really, really difficult game, especially if you pick this up as your first Metal Gear game to speedrun and you're going to do Euro, it's a hard game. And
yes.
Looking at picking up on some of these strats, which nowadays would be considered much easier, is a great way to get running with the game. It's not a game where I'd recommend just copying the world record strats, because there's so much nuance to it. And obviously, ask people for help as well. We're all pretty cool.
We are always willing to help.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say, I wouldn't have known a lot of stuff about this game if I wasn't able to just message you anytime, night or day, about weird things.
I am always willing to answer any questions you might have about MGS3. No matter how bizarre they are, I will try and find an answer for you. So. And one of the reasons, actually, why MGS3 is probably my favorite speed game, and probably my favorite MGS speed game too, is how creative you can be with this game. It's truly just insane how creative you can get with strategies.
I've long said that I can look at any runner, someone playing Metal Gear Solid 3, and I'll tell you who's playing. Just the way they play, the nuance. It's not just different strategies. It's everything. It's the way they menu. Every single room just has choice after choice after choice of how you can do it, and it makes everyone play so differently. And it's my favorite speed game as well, and that's a big part of the reason.
One of my favorite things, in fact, is just if you see oh, there's a strategy for this room, this one's pretty fast, but I struggle in this part. You can maybe try and just work out that part and make sure get consistent at it, or you can just come up with your own version of it. You can do whatever you want. If you want to go for the world record, there's obviously you got to go for some really difficult strats. But if you just want a game to run, just enjoy yourself with, you can do this run however you want. That's why I love it. It's just the creativity is insane with this game.
There's so many answers to the same question.
Yes.
And if you are learning this game and you think oh, I can't do that, look at second place, look at third place, look at fourth place. And skip to the exact room and watch how they do it, because I guarantee you there will be big differences.
Hell, right here. Look at old runs.
This should not have happened. I think I've got a part out of place here, because I just went from mountain to... my bad. This is in a playlist. Let's try going 6. Yeah, my bad. Let me just
all good.
Move that around. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries. But yeah, again, you can watch like we said even here, oh hey, how does first place do this room? How does second place do this room? Third, fourth, fifth. How did they do it in 08? How did they do it in 2012? You can go look at old runs. There might be something in there that you're hey, this clicks. This is super easy for me, as opposed to this harder version. I'll do this one.
Mountain 2 is such a great example, because position 1 to 5 on the leaderboard all do it differently.
Yeah. So what you'll see up here This is actually very similar to what's done nowadays. There's some very subtle differences. If you've played this game a lot, you'll catch it. The big one, personally, is getting that close to that guard. You don't actually have to get that close to him for him to hear your footsteps. But Kiku gets very close so he can hear it and then immediately roll into the trench.
That's terrifying how he does that room. That's so scary.
Yeah, the ending especially. Very close. So the next major boss fight coming up is going to be the Fury. And the Fury nowadays would be considered the hardest boss. Because he can just mess you up completely.
Sometimes modern runners like to make out that the Fury isn't actually that hard. I assure you he is. He's the hardest boss in the run for sure. I think a big part of that is how fast you have to beat him. To it's a very in the modern game it's a very, very short fight. And it has high probability for failure. And it's RNG based. Most of the bosses in this game have no RNG.
But not the Fury. To answer what Platonica said about no Eva skip, Eva skip was actually known at around this time. However, a lot of the higher level Foxhound runners at the time didn't really like the idea of doing a skip that big, so they opted to not include it in their runs. If you look at Hikari's old run on PS2, for example, he doesn't do it there. That was just a mentality thing.
Yeah, I think the mentality of, it's worth saying, the mentality of old school runners compared to new school runners is we want to explore the whole of the game, we want to do every difficulty, we want to learn what glitches are available. No way of thinking is necessarily a bad thing, as long as you appreciate everyone's thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, at the time, people really didn't want to do a skip like that, do any kind of sequence break. There were people who did, however. There were runs back then that did include it, but Hikari kind of popularized it and was like, I don't want to do it. And then, well, the Time to Beat doesn't do it, so they wanted to be on the same playing field. So this is a safer version of the Fury. You can actually, right there, make that shot when he was running up to them, shooting out the fire, but he moved out of the way to dodge it.
Fire's less laggy in 60 FPS on the HD collection, but it's way more lethal as well. That was an excellent Fury. You'd be happy with that. Any modern run would be happy with that Fury.
Yes, that was a really good fight. The main thing is, like, that obviously wasn't the fastest. You can do it a lot faster than that, but when things go wrong in the Fury, the time loss is ridiculous. You can lose a lot of time on that fight.
I mean, even until this year, it was common to see mistakes in the Fury, even in like the absolute best runs.
Yeah.
In fact, I was that scared of the Fury that I killed him with the Patriot ESA just so I could guarantee I wouldn't die, and lost about 30 seconds for doing that. Scary fight.
In a marathon setting, I don't blame you.
Yeah, it's scary.
That fight is scary. Because not only is the chance of death high, but it's also time loss is high too. So
yeah, I mean, even if a Fury gets out of hand, no matter what you're doing it with, if he starts blasting off around the map, he's hard to find. It's very easy to die. Where's he going? I used to do this.
Old school. Yeah, this is.
I used to do this.
Yeah, this is considered a backup if that strategy over there is too hard. I believe that was known at this time. However, I'm not 100% certain. So don't quote me on that, but
great way to do that room.
And you're going to see a standard Rykov. Believe it or not, the Rykov strategy that you see in a lot of single segment Foxhound runs was known at this time. So you're going to be seeing it here.
Yeah, this only changed about 5 weeks. We did this for the longest time. About 5 weeks ago, Hikari came up with a new strat using a smoke grenade and shooting a guard to get the caution. Which is, again, it's really hard, but it's so new as well. Like, we did this until 4 weeks ago.
And you might have noticed that He was at the max distance for that CQC to grab.
Yeah, I call it the scorpion grab.
Yeah, that... Every time I see that, it always makes me laugh. Just how far Snake drags him over.
Yeah.
Yeah, the standard Rykov, all the way back in 2008. You know, like I said earlier, a lot of the major strategies and techniques were created around this time, and there's only been, you know, minor improvements since. But there are improvements that have added up.
It's crazy that people were even managing to like get together and share footage and stuff. Even in, you think 2008, it was all like really easy then, but like I don't remember many people having a capture card then. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. This footage wasn't even uploaded until way later, right?
No, this was uploaded right when he completed it. He uploaded it. And I believe it was on SDA. I believe this was submitted to SDA.
Sir.
And then Hikari would later beat it on PS2. I don't remember how many years after that it was, but so going into torture here and then the prison escape, you're going to notice he does the first room when you get out of prison. He does that a little differently. It's quite interesting. Not faster, but it is very interesting.
Yeah, it's worth saying that like the whole prison escape section when you're naked and have no items is a ridiculously difficult section. We're lucky like we have so many different straps we can use nowadays. That area of the game is very, very hard.
Yeah.
How can you do this to him?
I know you gave the data to someone.
So we've got a little intermission in the middle of the run. So if you guys need to get a drink, get a snack or something.
If you want, you can follow the MGSR Twitter, MGSRunners, Twitter.com. I'll post it in the chat.
That's a good
Twitter.
idea.
So it's a good
Actually,
old
that
Twitter.
might get... Bot might not like that. You might want to... I'll post it.
Yeah, maybe not. But we're one follower away from 250, so we're at MGS Runners. At MGS Runners. Who's going to be the 250th follower?
Could be you.
And I really hope that
If you follow the Twitter. Oh, yeah, there we go.
I really hope that you're enjoying the show. I remember watching this run on his stream about a year ago, and he said at the time he'd love to do something like this on the channel. I've always wanted to see something like this on the channel. I'm really happy to be a part of it. I really appreciate you asking me.
Yeah, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, always, man.
So again, like I said at the start of it, we plan to do a couple more of these. We're going to be watching several historical runs for several different games.
What is your target?
So, what the next one is, we'll keep that a secret until it gets a little closer. But
if you've got a particular run that you do enjoy that's historical and significant like this one is, then maybe shoot a message on MGSR, post it in the chat, or let someone know about it.
Yeah.
You're a tough one. But even you
There's a lot of really, really great, significant runs out there.
Man.
A lot of very influential speedruns. I would say this one is one of the most influential speedruns, as it was one of the earliest single segment runs for this game. And not only that, it also got Foxhound, which was considered like crazy back then.
Yeah, so Foxhound is the highest rank, just for anyone that's unsure. It's the highest rank in the game. No kills, no alerts, no continues, less than 5 life bars of health lost, or just a low amount. Can't use any life meds. It's
yes, this is the same runner as Sparty. Yeah, this is the legendary KikujiroChan. or Take-chan. He goes by
AKA
both.
Take-chan.
Yes.
AKA
So you
ridiculously
notice
good at Metal Gear.
he did not get the extra item from Johnny here. That is because he's not going to be using it. He's going to throw that smoke grenade, and he's going to go over here, wait behind this box, knock on it. See, that guy's going to eventually walk over, and he's going to go crawl through the vent.
Very nice. Major actually shared
clever.
with me a video from 2013, a run from 2013, where the guy just throws the food and then throws two smoke grenades. He throws a smoke grenade at the place he's run into and just runs to it. But obviously, Take-chan didn't know about the footstep cancel as well, so that wasn't known. So he couldn't use that. So he had to come up with something a bit more inventive, and that was a very clever strat.
Yeah, very. And again, modern runners, you actually just will run along the bottom. You don't even have to throw that smoke grenade, but...
He also has a caution here as well, which is not normal. We don't normally have a caution
Yes,
here.
normally there's no caution here.
I honestly think that might have made the room a little bit easier.
It looks pretty easy.
You could take like a really direct line. That's actually really good. I quite like that actually. I might do that. Because you could force a caution pretty easily.
I do include that.
We're learning how to speedrun using runs from 2008. You'll love to see it.
We're learning. Gotta learn from the old masters.
He's not taking damage here because he wants to keep his he doesn't want to take a life bar of health basically, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Normally we'd injure ourselves here because we want the Sorrow fight to end quicker. We now know that the entire Sorrow fight doesn't count to the IGT. This was only found out the other day. It wasn't long ago.
It was very recent. Very recent that we found out the IGT does not tick when you're in the Sorrow fight. Yeah, he is playing it safe here because, again, he took a lot of damage at Ocelot.
Something I don't think we mentioned this as well. During the Volgin torture, he held his menu so he didn't take any damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he took a crazy amount of damage during Ocelot. Ocelot was a big source of damage. He was one hit from death.
Yeah. One hit from death, also going into the paint.
Yeah. That's something the old runners really liked, is to see as many zeros as possible on their score screens, and I think that was even in MGS 1 and 2, right? They wanted to zero it out as much as they possibly could.
Get as low as possible. So ironically, what is now considered also the fastest strategy was done all the way back here. You just drown yourself. No need to damage yourself on the way, you just drown right at the start.
Yeah, this is literally like exactly how you do the Sorrow. If you're going for the fastest time possible, this is how you do the Sorrow now. There is no reason to hook up the Scar early. You only damage yourself because it's faster to just drop straight off.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, things change, things stay the same.
Yep. Now, something coming up here in this area that you're going to see that, well, he basically does... I don't know why he chose to do this. I would not do this in a single segment run, but he decides to go for the segmented log roll here. Why he did this, I have no idea. I'll never understand why he did this.
Worth noting that Major Zero also does this in 100% of his runs. He will never ever not go for this.
Yeah. So this is what segmented runs would do for this area, is instead of climbing, you roll onto the log like that, and then that's the max distance you can roll to land on that waterfall right there. And you can tell he hit the max distance because if he hadn't, there would not have been that big splash when he landed. He was technically considered airborne and falling onto the water, so it splashed like that. Now, prepare for the very long loading section. This takes a while on PS2.
Something hand-drawn sausage said in the chat. Anything in the run that was forgotten but could be useful nowadays? Yes. I think there's so much forgotten knowledge in 3, it's unreal. I think there was a period of time where a lot of people ran it, and then people moved away to other games, and then new runners came to pick up the pieces, but a lot of its history wasn't recorded. It's all in Minnie's brain. And to know which parts would be useful and which aren't, and there's things that happen that you don't notice. And I think watching these old runs is really important, especially for 3.
Mm-hmm.
Three definitely. The knowledge deficit in 3 is definitely real. We're as I say, we're just picking up the pieces of where these legends left it all these years ago.
And again, there are some strategies that possibly could have been lost even to me because a lot of the theory crafting stuff was done in forums back in the day, and so not all of it has stayed around.
The role he did for that ladder there was because the ladder, accepting the ladder climb is really weird. It keeps you there for a while. It sometimes doesn't work, so he rolled to guarantee you would get the press on it. That's really clever. I would use that as well.
That roll from the door is pretty tricky, though.
It looked it.
And,
yeah.
What's he doing? He's doing this menu, but wait.
Spider camo.
He's putting on camouflage.
Spider camo is the Fears camo that you get for a non-lethal victory against him. It gives you really, really high camo index, 80%, at the cost of
70.
draining your stamina. 70. Yeah. But at the cost of draining your stamina. And you see, it's absolutely rinsing his stamina right now. Stamina bar is the one underneath the health bar, so for anyone who's not totally familiar with this game.
What's that?
And you might be wondering, hey, was the standard strategy that we do now not known back then? It was actually known. It was segmented. It was considered to be too hard for a single segment run. So,
I've certainly missed it.
This easier strategy.
When there's a huge focus on keeping Foxhound, it's so easy to lose Foxhound in this game.
Yeah.
That has never changed. That has never changed.
Yeah, it's not. So you're going to see a pretty interesting Shagohod hanger up here. This one's pretty cool.
Something we always know, like it's factual. If you see a player pick up the Mosin gun ammo that's in front of where you spawn there, they're always doing the non-lethal and Volgin fight. If you see any player do that, I've seen Raichu do a variant of this with the fence roll. You know they need the extra Mosin ammo for Volgin.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is New Game Plus, so he actually already has Cold War, so you might be wondering why he's even bothering doing this to begin with. And to be honest, I don't know. I'm not really sure.
I wonder if it's because of the iframes. I wonder if it's the Phase 2 setup's considered quite hard because it's...
it might be, yeah.
If you do it too fast, it fails. That's the only thing I can think of, though.
This is PAL, but it's subsistence. KikujiroChan did not learn MGS3 on Snake Eater. He was still doing MGS2 at the time. Because when I say he was late to picking up this game, like all the runners had already switched from Snake Eater to subsistence, and it was around the time they made that switch that he decided to pick this game up.
He's already equipped the mask as well, so he's going to get the Ivan thing in Phase 2.
And you can see that really... that quick stop before he does the next series of shots, because Volgin will take a second look before he goes, wait, you're not Ivan, and he's waiting for that to start, but not complete. Because if it completes, then he can't do this in Phase 2. So he waits there, then does the shots. Very clever.
That was a really nice fight.
Yeah, his Phase 2 was really fast for the non-lethal strategy.
It was genuinely just not easy to do at all.
Yeah. And now we're on to Bike Chase. Here you're going to see some very interesting shooting from from Kiku here. He does some creative stuff here. That's all I'll say. I'll let what he does actually, particularly on the runway. The runway, he does some interesting stuff. I don't know why he did that.
No, me either. So the guards here go down in one trank, so they're slightly different from normal European extreme guards. Also, that rocket that you saw that destroys the fence, in the HD collection, the rocket doesn't exist, so the fence just blows up. It's kind of like something Blue Point missed, I guess.
Yeah.
Another thing that's worth knowing is I discovered, and Major Zero really timed it out and worked out the difference, but looking down during this section saves you about 20 seconds versus being in the cinematic camera. I dread to think what it saves on PlayStation 2. I bet it's way more.
Yeah, it's probably a lot more time on PS2.
And again, that's something only discovered this year.
Yeah, lag reduction wasn't actually like it was. There was some parts where obviously they would reduce lag, but like it wasn't considered that much of a focus back then.
Yeah. I thought he was going for the visual glitch there. That would have been nuts if that happened.
Yeah, he was close. He was actually close to getting it to happen, but
yeah. If you hit the Shago hard as the cutscene begins, you don't go into the cutscene, but you just see the cutscene from where you're still sat. It's a weird visual glitch.
So he actually waits until right now to start doing damage to the Shagohod. That's just more of a... I don't know. That was just something he did. There's not really a... He could have done it. I guess he just chose not to. Or maybe he probably wasn't thinking that, since he was this far in the run, still on Foxhound.
His hands were probably shaking.
He probably was like, I don't even want to, like, bother with that. I'm just going to do what I know works.
This second section has 3 RPG guards in it, and if the RPG hits you, not only will it kill him at his health, but also it'll lag the game so much that it'll lose about 30 seconds.
Yeah, bunch of lag.
Nowadays we use stun grenades for this area when doing non-lethal. It just speeds up this section slightly.
Yeah. And watch for this shot on the RPG guy on the roof. Insane. That shot is so crazy.
If you don't take these guards out at speed, Eva won't progress until they're all down. That one guard on his own doesn't count, it's just the guards that are over to the right.
Yeah, so ideally you get to this part right here and they're all down, so that Eva only parks the bike for like, I think it's like a second or two or something,
yeah,
and then goes. Whereas if you wait until she parks and then start taking them down, once the final guy goes down, a timer ticks down. I think it's like 3 to 4 seconds, and then she goes off.
Oh, he's missed the RPG guard. Why didn't he fire? He's so lucky. He literally missed the RPG guard, but the RPG guard didn't fire.
He missed both, yeah.
Terrifying. That was nearly his whole run dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why he chose the Mark 22 here. I believe in Hikari's PS2 run, he also uses stun grenades. Anyway, his runway, part 1, is very unique. He decides to, I don't know if this actually is stunning them, but he shoots he'll shoot the driver off, and then he'll try and hit the guy in the passenger seat as he's about to fall out with the trank gun. I don't actually know if that does anything, or if he's just doing that for fun, but
I think he's just having the time of his life.
Yeah, he's just spamming shots.
Yeah, so when we say cinematic camera, that's the camera that's like panning around the bike.
Yeah.
Extremely laggy. On HD collection, it's a no-no. Interestingly, when Hikari got the world record at 1:17:30, he used cinematic camera almost all the way through the bike chase. So he lost that. Yeah. That could have been a 1:17:10.
Mm-hmm. And again, something you'll notice, or actually something worth pointing out when he gets into this second part of the bike chase, is it is possible. It's very unlikely, but it is possible during the second part that if you headshot the driver and then don't knock out like the guy in the passenger car before you knock out the driver, it is possible that the Shagohod can like hit him and it can count as a kill. It's very rare, but it can happen. And
yeah, I saw it happen to Hikari, finish him with one kill. I've seen it happen. Gross. That must be so gross.
Yeah, that's gotta suck. So, one quick thing about the Shagohod here. The damage you can deal to the Shagohod before like the game caps it and says, okay, you can't do any more to actually get into the fight, is actually the same on all difficulties. However, it just has more defense the higher you go. So it's harder to get that low. And the other thing is, when the Shagohod is far away, the hitbox for what it considers can be taken damage kind of like scales down with the size of it. But what doesn't scale down is the splash explosion from the rocket. So when the Shagohod's really far away, if you accidentally hit the treads while it was close, and you shoot it while it's really far away, you are very likely to hit the treads again and have it stop, and then you basically lose a bunch of damage. And so, gotta be careful if that happens.
Modern runners are only just picking up on the Shagohod infinite loop, which has been known about for a long time, but again, no one explained it to any of the modern players. We're just like getting scripts of it now. But hitting damage cap matters nothing compared to being able to infinite the Shagohod, and it means your first rocket has to be hit within a very small frame window to set it up. I don't know if Take-chan's going to do that. I doubt it. I doubt that was known yet, but that would amaze me.
We will wait and see.
Yeah, I don't know. Spoilers. No spoilers.
Never.
If he does it, I might flip my table.
So yeah, what makes this part so difficult is that Eva's driving is pretty random.
I can't believe he's doing it.
There is a way to make it not so random, but
yeah. My hands are on my head. Like he's lost it there, but
yeah, he does lose. He doesn't keep it the whole time, but he gets it started. I actually wonder if it was intentional or not, and he was just like, "Oh, hey, I'm getting shots." It is entirely possible he did not know. The only reason
he didn't keep it there is because he didn't shoot the other tread. It'll like fix on a tread, and so generally you don't know which one it's fixed on, and you'll just shoot the other one if the first one doesn't work. But people got like top HD collection times without knowing how to loop the Shagohod. This fight is like so stressful as well because it's right at the end of your run, and you have to. I mean, you can lose minutes on this fight by not doing it right.
Yeah, you can lose a ton of time if Eva and the Shagohod just don't cooperate. It's very scary. So yeah, unfortunately we can't ask Take-chan if he knew about the Infinite specifically.
Oh, he knew about it for sure. He did the setup and everything. He knew everything. He even did the setup.
If he knew or not, but unfortunately we can't ask him. I'd love to ask him if he knew or if he was just going for shots as he saw them and just happened to get it started.
The setup was too clean. Oh, he's missed one. That can happen, and it certainly feels random. And I don't think Volgan's going to let him hit him from there. I did, just. Very clean phase 2.
Pretty solid, yeah, pretty solid phase 2.
Again, when going for non-lethal, this section of the bike chase is very difficult when you've got Cold War camo on, mainly because of the RPG guards.
Yeah. Accidentally picked the SVD there. So again, he is doing this with the Mark 22. I'm not really sure why, but I guess he just wants to show how good he is at quick reloads.
Normally, use the Mosin Nagant at least for the first section because you can menu straight to it because that's what you were using versus Volgin, so it's still in your previous.
Yeah.
And that just kind of works the same. You just quick reload it and spam it out. What we tend to do now is we'll shoot the gunners off each bike so no new ones can spawn in, and then we'll just take the damage from the drivers because the damage from the drivers tends to get healed by your max stamina anyway.
And also, they have a very high likelihood of missing. Their accuracy isn't the best.
Yeah.
So again, turning around that like that is just to set up so that he's ready for these shots he has to do in this upcoming area.
It's an ambush.
They're not going anywhere.
Stop that.
And again, it was very safe of him to, even though he didn't get that shot and he realized, he just kept looking at him because when they see the front of your camo, they will not shoot you.
Yep. It looks like he was trying to shoot the Keratan, not the RPG card.
And this screen right here, this is the bane of many European Extreme runners. This part is very easy for you to die on.
Yeah, so
If you
speaking,
don't,
talking of
you're
the
doing good game.
talking of like the disconnect between old school and new school is when I picked up European Extreme, I never went for Foxhound. I just went for the best time. I never cared about killing people. So this area was completely free to me, right? I just like blew everyone up with the SVD. Never took any damage. Didn't worry about dying. I recently started doing Foxhound Tuxedo runs, and with Tuxedo, you don't have any of the things like Cold War camo, and obviously going for no kills as well. This room is the hardest room in the game, and
This is very hard, yeah.
yeah, it's the middle platform guard can park above you, and he'll just light you up from a position that you can't shoot him from. The guards on the left and right do a lot of damage as well, but also if he parks above you and the light's shining on you, the game drops to about 10 FPS. So not only are you taking tons of damage, but the room takes forever to finish.
Yeah.
So again, he's wearing the Cold War camo. While you're wearing the Cold War camo, if you're facing at a guard, they won't shoot and damage you. But yeah, this room is severely underestimated for how difficult it is. It's one of the highest DPS guards, like parked above you, lighting you up. The only thing I can think that damages you more in this game is being on fire. And in that room,
Yeah, it probably does, yeah.
if you shoot a platform guard down, and he blows up next to you, you can catch on fire as well. So you can not only take the highest damage guards, but you can also be on fire as well. Nightmare room, infamous room.
And then it leads into probably what I consider the easiest part of the bike chase.
Yeah, it's free. It's so free.
This part's really easy.
This room's only hard in a Keratan run.
Dude, bike chase is scary if you're going for Keratan. One day someone will do that single segment. It's not me, though.
People keep threatening. It won't be me either. It won't be me.
It's not gonna be me, but someone will.
You always get a new player come into their Discord and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do a Keratan run. And we're like, yeah, please do it. We want to see that.
Do it segmented. Do it single segment. We don't care. Just
we're ready.
do it. We are ready to see it. Give us a Keratan run. That includes all of the strategies, including my personal favorite in Keratan. I don't know who came up with it exactly, but if you look at Ikari's segmented run, when you first start Snake Eater and you go back to the start and hit that one in the starting area, he throws a chaff grenade at it to hit it. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's Major told me about that one the other day. He's like, the only way to hit it as well, you have to pick up the chaff to get it.
Yeah.
Hikari's the only one who connects the old school and the new school together, right? Out of like for active MGS3 runners.
Yes.
You do too. You do too, but I haven't seen you play this game in ages, so that's why I said just Hikari.
Yeah. Hikari has been playing this game for a very long time. I believe he started running in, I want to say, around the time of this run, I think it was. 2008, 2009, I think was when he started. It could have been a bit before that. I'm not 100% certain on when he started, but
Hikari as well has dropped the game and then picked it back up as well. So he's taken breaks, and you'd expect that after 12 years of playing that you would take a break and pick it back up again. I'd love any of these old schoolers to come back and play the game. I'd love to see it.
there's the classic menuing. Mashing the button.
Something I didn't say is the bike chasing HD collection can be made much easier even in new game, because if you select I like MGS3, you get the OS camo, which gives you 33% damage reduction.
Yeah.
And that's makes life a lot easier. He keeps threatening to appel. We want to see it. Hashtag make mini run MGS3 again.
So this first screen of the Eva Escort is going to look very similar, but he's going to do a menu at some point. He's going to do a menu that you won't see in modern runs, and the second room of the Eva Escort might be it's probably tied for my favorite room in the run. It is really cool. It's obviously not faster, but man,
even better than that Japanese runner that used the books recently.
The
Japanese runner picked up the books, and then we were like, "What's he going to use them for? Where's he using the books?" And he used them in Screen 2 of Eva Escort.
Yeah, that was shocking. When I saw him, I was like, "Why is he grabbing that? What is he? I can't think of any time you'd use that."
Yeah, when he grabbed the first one, but then when he grabbed the second one, he's like, "What does he need 2 for?"
What does he need 2 books for? I personally would have never thought of that. I would have never thought to use the books in that area.
Yeah, I think Eva, the last screen with guards with during the Eva Escort, is another one that everyone just does slightly differently, and I reckon I could spot a runner just on that screen.
Yeah, that screen is pretty tricky, and there's a lot of different approaches for it, thankfully. So here we go.
I want to give a shout out to Plywood, who during my GDQ run, when I got to this screen, said, "You haven't been seen by any guards yet," and it's the last screen with guards, and my blood pressure just went through the roof.
Oh no, why would you do that, Plywood? So mean. Anyway, check this out. This is cool. To keep in mind, a lot of this movement he's doing here is very specific because Eva's still following him. She doesn't stop following him yet.
To keep Eva moving the whole time is really tricky because
gets here, turns around and makes sure, and yep, she's still moving.
She's got like a leash range. If you go too far, she'll stop. So keeping her moving there is integral because you're bottlenecked anyway by the speed of Eva because you have to get Eva to the end. So as long as she's moving from start to finish in a room, no matter how you do it, it's fine.
Yeah.
So if you fancy something that's a bit more CQC involved rather than using weapons, it might be worth giving that strat a try.
Yeah, it's now obviously some of the more specific movement that he did there was to make sure that Eva isn't like dropping down any slopes or like going any wrong ways, taking any wrong turns. Now, unfortunately, if he hadn't stayed right there to make that shot, he wouldn't have had to call Eva again before he started moving. but it's probably something he didn't think of.
I think he's done okay, considering.
He's done, yeah, he's done pretty okay. And we're going to be coming up on the boss, where you will see a very interesting version of the loop. It is still the loop, but not as it looks nowadays.
Let's see what you're made of. Excellent, Jack. You're better than I remember.
That was clean. Really, really clean.
Yeah, so he opts to do the runaway strategy to keep the loop going at the first one, rather than the last one where the chain ends, which is what is done nowadays. And the other thing is, he cut that really close for when he had to turn around. Like, he turned around at probably the earliest point you could. If he had turned around any earlier than that, she would have walked back and started shooting.
Something
So he
interesting
cut
to
that
note
very
is that
close.
Hikari still does that, where you knock her down first, run away, and then reset before going into the full loop. Hikari still does that now, obviously with the Mode and the Gun and throwing the stun in the air to reset her. But it's funny because I always wondered why he did it like that, and it's definitely because they all did it like that then.
Yeah.
But the way Hikari does it, and other modern runners do it, is still the same speed, whether you set the loop up first or set it up second. It all works out the same. About 40 odd seconds that fight is.
Yeah.
With modern
The other interesting thing about his fight is that I think it was the second part of the loop. Instead of throwing the stun in the air, both times he actually chose to throw it on the ground. That still works for it, but that one's very strict. If you throw it too early, it won't stun her as she's standing up. The reason why you throw it up is because it makes the timing a lot easier for hitting that.
And we're just coming up on the end of this run when he fires the last shot of the revolver. I'll start the timer. Coming up next will be Major doing a European Extreme run of Metal Gear Solid 3, and we'll be going through all the crazy stuff we do nowadays, but we will go to a short intermission just after this run ends.
Yeah. And because this run, we already know the clear time, we will be skipping the credits. They're coming up. We'll be cutting just right away to the results screen so we can see it. And because there's no need to sit through it. We know the final time. We know what it is.
Yeah, so I'll
skip to about 9:15 in the video. It's the best part to go to.
see if I can get a good shot of that. 129.25.
129.25. Look at all those zeros.
And that you don't see anyone zero out runs anymore. Like perfect stats. This run is listed on YouTube as perfect stats. You, as I say, you don't see people go for that anymore. One of the main things we get that doesn't affect Big Boss is Foxhound is animals captured or plants captured or whatever it is, because we actually kick a plant right at the end of the level to
distract your guard.
Yeah, and the life bars obviously as well. We don't really care about losing a bit on life bars because generally it won't won't make a difference anyway. I think it's less than 5 for Big
Yeah.
Boss.
You'll also be like, he cut that insanely close. If he was going for perfect stats, I don't know why he did that Ocelot fight the way he did, but I mean, it
Yeah.
worked. Somehow he was able to do it and still get perfect stats, so good on him.
Fantastic run. As I say, we're going to go to an intermission. Please stick around, everyone, for Major Zero's run coming up in about five or so minutes. Okay, thanks, everyone.
Yeah.